It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Marshall Wood and Dale McKee coming at you one more time from WABO, talking about sports. How you doing there, Mr. McKee?
I'm doing good, Mr. Wood.
Good deal, good deal. I see you got your Manning Passing Academy shirt on there.
It's impressive, isn't it?
That is impressive.
It's 20 years old. It lasts.
That's a good, that Manning name is going to stay with you, isn't it?
I guess.
20-year-old shirt. That's a good looking shirt. I sure wish I had one of them.
Yeah.
What you got to do to get a shirt like that?
Well, I don't know. I took a bunch of Wayne County football players down there in 2002.
Yeah.
Keem Lofton, my son, and there was several others that went. Yeah. Quarterbacks, receivers, and there was about 9 altogether.
Must have worked. Won a couple of championships.
Couldn't have hurt them, huh? Sure couldn't have hurt them.
Yeah. What else is going on? What's going on? Tell us about your sideline view. What you got going on in that?
Well, you know, I tried to recap the Olympics the best I could, and we did win 5 medals. I know Devin Booker from Moss Point got a gold because he was playing for the USA basketball team. And then there was a couple track stars from Mississippi State and Ole Miss that won silvers and bronze.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Sam Kendricks, who is a world-renowned pole vaulter, this was his basically 3rd Olympics, even though he had to skip the 2020 because he came down with COVID.
Yeah.
And that was the one that was in Tokyo.
Yeah.
But he did win, I think, a bronze in Rio.
Silver, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he won a silver this time. He won in Rio. He won a bronze in 2016. So he's from Oxford. He went to school at Ole Miss.
Pole vaulter.
Pole vaulter.
Oh, okay.
So he came in 2nd.
Oh, okay.
I guess he was behind that Italian or ever who that guy was. You know?
What guy?
Well, I don't know who.
You talking about a guy, man? Come on,
well,
don't leave hanging now.
I can't pronounce those.
Freddie. Well, what's he known for? His pole vaulting, I guess.
Yeah, Freddie the Freeloader. I don't know what his name was.
Well, you know, you never know what's going to happen with these pole vaulters. I mean, it's a big old crazy goofy world out there.
Yeah.
Anything else you got in the sideline view?
Well, I didn't put it in sideline view, but I found out that Booker winning the gold was the 21st Mississippian to ever win a gold.
Wow.
I thought that was impressive, and that's since 1896.
That's probably the only one that's ever been through Wayne County High School gym up there.
Ralph Boston?
Debbie Booker.
Oh, Booker? Yeah.
Yeah, so he left his mark here. He
Yeah.
didn't leave much of one here. I think he scored 1 point against the War Eagles that he came out here.
I remember his senior year down there, he got revenge against us for sure.
Did
Yeah.
he? Yeah. Okay.
I don't think he missed a shot.
He missed a shot. They say he's pretty good. You know, I was going to say something about those old Olympics, and I forgot what it was. But boy, it was going to be good. Oh, here's the thing: the Olympics. I think the Chinese and the United States tied with a number of gold medals, and that's the first time I think that's ever happened. I think the United States had more medals overall than everybody else. But, you know, we lose track. The Russians weren't there this year, so that could have probably changed the...
Well, yeah, they had to compete as independents, and there was like 15. But, you know, the reason that they didn't compete this year...
They was cheating.
No.
Weren't?
Well, there was some cheating going on. But no, most of those Olympic guys are in the military, and so... They're kind of on tour right now. Yeah.
Ooh.
Ukraine, I think. I guess they pole vaulting in Ukraine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I tell you what, there's a lot going on over there. I was looking at the paper and looking on the news feeds and on the internet, and there's a lot of smoke rising over there. They're blowing stuff up every day, it looks like.
Yes, they are.
It's a big old goofy world. Like
yeah,
John
we just need
Bryan
to keep praying for our country.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Dale, who you got for us as our guest tonight?
John Sigler. He's with USA Today, and he covers the Saints, and He lives on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and he's got his ear to the ground on everything happens in New Orleans. For the
Ear to the ground. Well, I tell you what, let's don't waste any time. Let's get to that ear and see what it's got to say.
Okay.
Let's get to that. Yeah, okay. Get to that ear. That ear ain't really got nothing to say, but you got my point. And I know all our listeners out there by now have learned to get our points here on the Brouhaha. So we're going to take a break here from a sponsor. Then Dale and I and John Sigler will be back after this commercial break. See you in a minute.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show. John Sigler with the USA Today. He's going to talk today about the New Orleans Saints football with us. And John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on again. You know, we got a beautiful weather day today. Get to talk some Saints football. Looking forward to it.
Amen.
All right. Well, listen. Just give me your impressions of the preseason game Saturday night in Arizona.
Oh man, you know, I think it ended better than it started. You know, that fifth Rattler was a lot of fun to watch. We got to see the offense open up a bit more once the second and third stringers got out there. Yeah, you know, I thought it was encouraging. It had an exciting finish there. You had the lead changing a couple of times. Rattler got to play superhero there, scoring the touchdown and having the 2-minute drill at the end. And then the rookie kicker from Northern Ireland had his very first kick in an American football game for the win. So you can't ask for a better finish than that.
Yeah, I saw he spelled his last name wrong. That's Smith. He put a Y in there instead of an I. So that was very unusual. Also, what'd you think about? I know the quarterbacks. You know, Carr is the number one guy, but the 2 and 3 guy looked pretty good out there the other night, didn't they?
They did, yeah. You know, once I think the Saints' backup offensive line was better than the Cardinals' backup defensive line. There, I think the guys that went in, I think they had some better protection with Rattler on the third team, Jay Kaner on the second team. I think they had a bit more to work with than Carr did at first, which is good. You know, you want to see that. You want to know that you've got good depth. But it's concerning because it's like that's not who's going to be protecting Carr in a few weeks when the season starts. And we got to know that they have a right tackle, that they have a left guard, that they're going to be able to protect this $150 million quarterback. That they can protect that investment and have him, you know, be protected and able to make plays. So, yeah, you know, that battle for that second QB spot is still going on. I think Hainer and Rattler both made some good plays. I was encouraged by both of them. Got to see more from Carr, and I think we're going to see more with the 49ers canceling the joint practices this week. So we may see some more of Derek Carr this Saturday in San Francisco or Santa Clara.
Well, do you think Carr will be the number one when the season ends? Or do you think it'll be, if the Saints start going south, do you think Spencer Rattler may have a chance?
Oh, man. It's possible, but I really feel like Carr is Dennis Allen's quarterback through and through. And sink or swim, that's kind of who he has, you know, hitched his reputation to as the guy that they went out and recruited and paid all that money, and they're really going to stick with him. I mean, you know, I don't want to put too high of expectations on Rattler. You know, right now he still needs to win that second job from Jay Kaner before he can worry about, you know, being the main guy. So there's still a ways off before then. I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think we're seeing that, but I'm not convinced that Rattler, you know, turning to him maybe a bit too soon just yet. But you know, we never know we don't know what things may look like in 3 or 4 months. You know, Carr could be injured, Hainer could be hurt or have got his shot and flamed out, and then they have to turn to Rattler. You just don't know. And the other thing to consider here is that while Dennis Allen did, you know, sell hard to get Derek Carr in here, he is entering the last year of his contract as the head coach. And if he has an opportunity to buy himself more time and and kind of sell himself as the coach to develop this quarterback, this young quarterback and rattler, then yeah, he might make a change. So it's not something I'm anticipating. I certainly don't expect it, but I'm not about to rule it out completely by any means.
Well, it just getting off the Saints for just a minute and just getting your opinion on this. It just seems like this was a pretty good year for quarterbacks coming in from college, rookies. You got Bo Nix in Denver. You got Williams in Chicago. You got Jaden Daniels in Washington. You got Michael Phoenix in Atlanta. It just seems like these college quarterbacks are coming out even more and more prepared.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of scouts, a lot of draft media, even college football analysts have talked about for a long time. You just look at these pipelines that are sending, high school quarterbacks to the college level, to the pro game, and they're having all these opportunities that we didn't see, in past generations, with all these 11-on-11 camps and 7-on-7s, and these quarterback camps that they go to. I mean, yeah, the Manning Passing Academy is an institution, but it's not the only event like that anymore. And so guys are getting prepared, sooner in their football careers. They're getting more experience. They're getting more reps. They're getting more comfortable, throwing from the pocket and everything. And I think that we are seeing, like you said, more and more of these young quarterbacks coming up out of the college level and turning pro and, turning in the preseason.
Well, and the last question before we get back to the Saints, Jackson Dart up there at Ole Miss, I think he may have an advantage over some of these college quarterbacks, and I may be all wrong. I may be out in left field, but he just seems like playing for Lane Kiffin, who seems like he structured everything at Ole Miss almost like the pro game, the way he recruits players out of the portal, the way he adds players, as far as he even said one time he did his roster like he did an NFL roster. And so do you think that's true about Dart? Have you seen Dart enough to make an opinion on him?
I haven't yet. No, I'm a Southern Miss fan first and foremost. So I'll watch more of them than Ole Miss and State and all them. But I will say this. You look at the quarterbacks that Lane Kiffin has coached, that he's recruited. Both in the portal and conventionally out of high school. And he has sent a lot of guys to the pros, and he's sent a lot of players at other positions to the pros too. So they have a good support staff there, or a good supporting cast, I should say. He's got right now. Jackson Dart is being protected by NFL offensive linemen. He's throwing to NFL wide receivers and tight ends, and he has an NFL play caller in his headset. So yeah, I would say he is being prepared really well to take things to the next level. We just kind of got to see if he can keep building on that momentum, and see if he can make some noise here in the fall. Well,
that's a great point about how he's surrounded. Okay, let's get back to the Saints. Let's talk about that offensive line. Did they get any help in the draft or free agency or anything like that?
Yeah, they got a couple of guys. The big name is the left tackle. That's Dale Fuaga. Played college ball at Oregon State. He's a hoss. I think it was Eric McCoy at one of the first days of training camp at the Pro Bowl Center. He says, "Man, this kid Fuaga, he's the best rookie offensive lineman I've seen since I've been here, and he is just so clean in pass protection. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He looks for work. Technically very sound. And what's really impressive is he played right tackle in college, and the Saints moved him to the left side, and he has not skipped a beat. And he is just an awesome run blocker. He's very well coached in pass pro, and I think he's going to be just an outstanding player for them to build around. So he's been very impressive. The other guy I want to mention His name is Lucas Patrick. He's a free agent they signed from the Bears. He's spent his career with the Packers, with the Bears. He's started at center and guard, and right now he's probably the new left guard starting for the Saints, which was not the expectation when they signed him. But he's just done such a great job that they don't want to keep him on the bench. And I think he could be a really good influence on a Brouhaha there at left tackle from the left guard spot. Being kind of that steady veteran who can. He's been there and done that in this league, and I think that's a great resource to have for him to pull from. And hopefully they can be enough, because the offensive line is in rough shape. Ryan Ramczyk his football career is probably done. The Saints are leaving the door open for next year, but given the condition his knee is in and everything, I would be shocked if we see 71 again. And so then we just keep looking at that right tackle spot. Like, oh goodness, do they have a good plan here?
This is Marshall. I want to throw you a curve and kind of change directions a little bit. If you back off and look at the Saints, and we'll get a little more general question here as to what you think, what you see coming into the season, what their biggest strength or strengths might be. And of course, the antithesis to that would be the biggest weaknesses. But let's start with the strengths. Where do you think they're going to be strongest?
I think it's got to be the back seven defensively.
Okay.
Dennis Allen has always built his defense through the secondary. I mean, it makes sense that that's his background as a defensive backs coach. So they've always invested in the corners and the safeties, and this year they've got a couple of very good options at linebacker. Yeah. And I really think that's going to be what they lean on is forcing quarterbacks to try and find an open man for 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then hoping that the defensive line can get home. So yeah, they're bringing back Marshawn Lattimore. The deadline to trade him is coming up here soon. I believe that's September 2nd, either the 1st or the 2nd, coming up quick. And it doesn't sound like anybody's going to trade for him, meet the price the Saints are asking. So anytime you can work things out, keep a 4-time Pro Bowl corner in the building, I think that's good. So they'll have him. They got Paulson Adebo, number 29, who stepped up last year. Alante Taylor's coming back, and then they drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, right, who the Saints drafted him. Nick Saban said he thought he was the most pro-ready corner in the draft, and just couldn't say enough nice things about this young man. And I think McKinstry is going to be a big player for them this year, and whatever role he earns for himself, whether that's in the slot or playing in the dime package or whatever it may be. And then at linebacker, Demario Davis is coming back still, and he's the oldest linebacker in the league, and to be that and play as well as he does is just incredibly impressive. So they're going to be relying hard on him again, and then they signed Willie Gay they signed Willie Gay in free agency. They brought back Steve Werner on a new deal. So yeah, I think that the linebackers, the safeties, the corners, I really think that's going to be the strength of the defense this year.
Well, that's exciting. I tell you what, if you got to have a strength, that's a pretty good strength to have, is that back seven. Willie Gay, yeah. I missed that. I'm excited about that. That's a good one.
Yeah, he brings a ton of energy. Whenever they do this kind of hazing thing at training camp when they sign a new defender, he's got to do like 40 up downs, I think, and Willie Gay does it with them each time. And it's kind of like, I'm right with you, bro.
I like that.
And he's a great, team first guy, great attitude, brings a lot of positive energy, and he was all over the field Saturday night in Arizona. So, I don't know that he's going to be starting for the Saints, but he's going to play a lot of snaps, and you can tell he's going to bring some positive energy every time he's out there.
What about Chase Young on the defensive end over there? You think he's going to help them? I know isn't he a new addition also?
He is, and that's been very interesting to keep up with over the last 6 months. So they signed Chase Young back in March, and the next day he had neck surgery. And the Saints knew about this. They wrote his contract to account for it. They kind of protected themselves a bit because it's a pretty serious procedure to have. And he has just been outstanding. He was at the facility every single day for rehab in the spring. He returned ahead of schedule. He was on the practice field the first day of training camp and got the green light to practice fully about a week later. and he has just been taking over day after day. I mean, he had, I think, 3 sacks in a row to close out team drills in their last practice before that preseason game in Arizona. So he's going to be a big-time player for them. It is only a 1-year deal, so this may be kind of a thing where he's here for a year and rebuilds his value and then goes and signs, for amount in the money somewhere else next spring. But it's looking like he's going to be a huge addition for the Saints this year, and they need it with how hard a time they had getting to the quarterback last season.
Well, it just the other night, just watching Young a little bit, it just seems like that he's going to be a difficult guy to block when he gets 100%. I mean, that you might have an offensive lineman might have to have some help, either from a back or even another interior lineman. I mean, that was just my take on him. And I'm like you, I thought Willie Gay was possessed the other night. Like he was running all over the field, when I saw a lot when he played. But the defense was very encouraging because I saw, didn't they stop Arizona like 3 times on 4th down?
They did. Yeah, they got off the field when they needed to, and they didn't have a lot of penalties defensively, and I thought it was very impressive. So it was a good way to start the summer.
All right. Well, we talked a little bit about the defense. Let's get kind of back to the offense, and we'll conclude with how you think they're going to do this year. But was it A.T. Perry? He had a pretty good game the other night. You think he's going to help the receiving corps?
I think he could. He's looking like he might be a bit of a gamer here. What I mean is he's had a very inconsistent training camp so far with, dropped passes and just rough days at practice. And then for him to turn it around, and he had the 58-yard catch from Jake Hayner. He picked up, I think it was 35 yards on a defensive penalty that he forced in coverage. He was just, it's like he flipped the switch and he looked like a totally different guy. So maybe he plays his best football under the bright lights. I don't know. But he did a lot to help himself, that's for sure. I was talking to someone yesterday. I said, maybe he got his mojo back. Maybe put it to him. But, they need somebody to step up at receiver. They finally moved on from Michael Thomas this offseason. And A.T. Perry was kind of the guy I was looking at as, hey, maybe he can be, that replacement. He can play that role, be that bigger wide receiver. Because, we love Chris Olave, we love Rashid Shaheed. They're both about 6 foot flat and weigh about 190 pounds. And A.T. Perry is 6'5", 210, 215. He's just a bigger target. He's much more like a Marcus Colston style receiver than either one of them. And I think that's what you need in a lot of situations to pick up that first down and move the chains. Yeah,
that is that's a good point there. What about people in the backfield, running backs? How's that shaping up? What about I can't think of his first name right now. Camaro, the running back. Is he 100% yet?
Yeah. He's doing really well. They are very excited to see what he can do in this new offense. Getting him moving in motion more often, getting him catching more passes. Not necessarily out of the backfield, but moving him around like he did when he first got here and playing from the slot, and just being more of a versatile weapon. Getting more creative with him than we saw these past couple of years, where he's just running into the teeth of the defense, right up the middle over and over again, not going anywhere. So they're very excited for Alvin Kamara, and hopefully they'll work out a new contract with him. He's been fighting for that all summer, trying to get a new deal. He's got no guaranteed money after this season, and if things don't go his way, then he could be a salary cap casualty in the spring. And he doesn't want that. The Saints don't want that. They're trying to reach a compromise where he gets that long-term security. They get a good player who's a good fit in what they want to do on offense, and hopefully everybody can get happy. But I'll tell you, the guy I'm watching most closely in the backfield is number 33, Jordan Mims. He played college football at Fresno State with Jake Hayner, and I think he caught like 60 or 70 passes from Hayner, it felt like, in that Cardinals game. I mean, it felt like over and over again he's throwing to 33. and he has had just an outstanding camp. He played in a very similar offense, had a ton of zone blocking schemes in front of him at Fresno State to what the Saints are doing now, and he looks like a very good fit here. So that's somebody I'm watching close. I think he might have a real role this year. You just need to see if Kendry Miller, the running back they drafted out of TCU last year, if he can get healthy and get on the field and make some plays, because that's somebody who really needs to finish strong after he's missed most of training camp.
Well, how do you think Tyson Hill will do in this new offense?
And I'm excited for it. Taysom Hill was one of the first players that when they hired Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator, he flew out to Utah or Idaho, I forget, one of the states out west, where Taysom and his family live in the off season, and sat down and met with him. And that was one of the first players that he contacted after he got the job to be the new play caller. And so from day one, they have had a good vision for Taysom Hill, get him more involved. Find new things to do with him. I've heard a lot about him doing more dirty work this year, doing more blocking, lining up at fullback a lot more than he's done before. He's not throwing many passes at training camp practice. I wouldn't expect that to be something we see too much of. But I mean, you look at the last few years, he has been their best runner. QB Bauer has been their most reliable running play, and they recognize that. They want to lean on that. They want to get him going, and I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to help the team this year. So I'm very excited to see what he can do playing in a new system with a new play caller.
All right, we're going to wrap it up right here, John. And how we're going to wrap it up is just tell me a one-loss record, but just tell me Atlanta the team to beat in the conference in the South Division.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy the hype with Atlanta. I mean, they've got their own version.
Good.
Boo Atlanta.
I'm telling you, it's the most overrated team in the NFL. I don't understand it. Their defense gave up like 80 points in the last 2 weeks. They didn't sign a single defensive player in free agency. They went and drafted a quarterback after they paid a quarterback. I mean, I don't see it. I don't buy the hype. They've done everything the Saints have done. They went and signed a quarterback who's hardly won any playoff games. They hired a head coach that they didn't want to hire a couple of years ago when they had him as an assistant because he's only won like a third of the games he's coached in the NFL. Like they went and got their own Dennis Allen, they got their own Derek Carr, and they still don't have a defense. So I don't understand all of this excitement from out there floating around about the Falcons. I just don't buy it.
Okay, so we don't need to buy the rat poison, huh? Okay, so what you think you probably dissected the schedule a lot better than we have. What you think the Saints' best record could be or worst record?
I think 10 wins is possible. I mean, you look at it, they just like last year, they've got the easiest strength of schedule in the league. Nobody's playing fewer playoff teams, fewer teams that won, double-digit games last year. Like, they've got a lot of winnable games lined up for themselves here. They've got a ton of rookie quarterbacks, new head coaches. I can see a lot of things going their way again this year. Now, that happened last year, too, and it wasn't good enough, and they didn't get to the playoffs. So I need to see it, believe it with this team, but I do think 10 is possible. I don't think they have a worse roster than they did this time last year. I think they've gotten better at some important spots. Defensive end, they had to Chase Young. They restocked the back seven. I don't think they're worse than they were last year. And they have a real left tackle now, which they didn't really have last year either. So, I'm looking at it as 10 wins is their season, is their kind of their ceiling, and that might be enough to win the division. I don't buy Atlanta. Tampa Bay, was hardly impressive last year, and then they lost a lot of players because they had to pay Baker Mayfield, and I don't know that they did a good job replacing those guys. So I think the division is still wide open. I think the Saints have a chance, and I can buy what somebody might be selling and saying that, hey, this might be a 10-win team this year. They might get back to the playoffs. I can see that. Now, things could go sideways too. I mean, they could lose games to backup quarterbacks, like we saw happen last year. Then the Allen could get outcoached by the Rams on Thursday Night Football all over again. I mean, we've seen them lose these games, lose to better teams. It's happened before, and it could happen again. So it's not like I'm sitting here, calling for a Super Bowl or anything. So as far as the floor for them, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 wins. I mean, they're going to beat Atlanta twice. I know that. I can say that with confidence.
We love it.
And Carolina. I'm not worried about them and little old Bryce Young. So yeah, I think 4 or 5 wins. 5 wins is probably the floor. 10 wins is probably the ceiling, and hopefully they catch enough breaks to where that's enough to end this playoff drought. Because I know a lot of young Saints fans that they grew up expecting this to be a playoff team and expecting Drew Brees to go out there and break all these records and get into the playoffs and make some noise. And it's not like, older generations or even, my generation who was kind of, skeptical of everything that Sean Payton was selling back in 2008, 2009, and still kind of finding our feet and all. So, expectations have got to be higher. They can't keep settling for less, and hopefully this is the year they get over that hump.
John, this is Marshall, and I told you at some point in time we'd be out of time, and that's where we are. Dale and I want to thank you very much for being with us tonight and what you bring to the Brouhaha table. We appreciate you. I'm going to ask you to hang on for just a moment. Dale and I are going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors and be back with tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. I tell you what, John's got me excited about the Saints.
Man, it's about time, isn't it?
Well, he started. You know he's a Saint because he's hammering them dirty birds.
Ever since Drew's left us, it's been downhill.
It's been tough, man.
Downhill.
It's been tough.
But I can see what John said with the 10 wins. If you look at the schedule, there's some difficult places to go play. I don't know if they're ready for the Eagles. I don't know if they're ready for the Cowboys or the Rams. But and they usually have a tough time going to Green Bay. They usually have a tough time going to some cold winter place like New York and play the Giants. Even though the Giants aren't that good, Saints seem to have a little trouble with that. But I could see 10-7.
Yeah.
I
think I'd be happy with 10-7.
Yeah, and the last couple of years, people don't realize that they've only been a game back of ever who won the league.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the South Division hadn't been really good since Drew and Brady left.
Right. Dale, I tell you what, it's like I had to holler calf rope on an interview a while ago, and we're about out of time here tonight. We want to thank all of our listeners for joining us again, and we want to thank John Sigler for being with us and talking all this stuff about the Saints. I want to remind y'all that you can follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and we have all the shows cataloged for you where you can listen on demand on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But Dale, I think it's come to time of the evening where you know what time it is. It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.